you need the time,
Hi, we are
we
live.
can.
Yes, we are
Okay.
live. Hey, everyone. Um, Today's topic is very hot. It's very important for any type of growth, even if you are looking for two, three clients, or you are looking to grow the studio, or like double the revenue, or like double the number of team members. You do need to know which market you are in and which market you want to go to. And to know that, there are some necessary requirements you need to have in mind. You need to study the other market, and once you have a good market research, you can say yes, I want to go there. However, how to make a market research, or how to think about a market research, how to look to another markets. For example, like people will come to Fabio or me and they ask me, "Oh, Anis, I think should we go to Canada? Should we go to USA? Should we go to this, like to Dubai, to Saudi Arabia?" Well, you can go everywhere. It's, I mean, you don't need my confirmation or Fabio's confirmation to say yes. However, you do need to have some conditions in mind about the other market. And if you are ready, then yes. If you are not ready, then you should prepare yourself. Today we have Fabio. Fabio is the guest today, and he will speak fully about how to choose the market and what are the potential markets for Archviz. And he really prepared a very well studied, I would say, document. It is not yet ready to be published, but we will publish it soon. You will be able to download it and get it for free. Um, he had a good eye on the major markets for Argos and the pros and cons for each market. That's why he will present that. And without, I mean, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Fabio, welcome. Thank you for your time, for the preparation you have made for this interesting topic. Welcome.
Hi, Anis. Thanks a lot for the show as always. Tonight talk it's going to be about not only the potential markets, but also understanding what it takes to penetrate a market. There is also like the people need to understand the difference between exporting services and actually establishing a business in another market, and these are two very different things.
Mhm.
And basically it it's about what it is that it's going on in your company, what it is that you're trying to do, uh, that sort of like pushes you in one direction or the other. And eventually, if you do a thorough market research and you see how other businesses operate, you do understand that to a certain extent, at a certain point of the life of a company, it becomes almost imperative to have to um, sort of like try to establish a presence in other markets. And so tonight we're going to talk about the strategic market entry, how this usually happens. There are some talking points that I've prepared. We're going to jump a little bit back and forth because this is going to be a conversation between us. We're going to talk about the operational and logistical considerations that need to be made, the cultural and business adaptation, the financial aspects, obviously, what it means to scale and grow a business in other markets, and we'll talk about some strategies that can be adopted. And also we're going to look at the markets, and we're going to talk about the differences for these markets. um, and I want people to always consider their own personal experience as being sort of like not the defining factor for these decisions, because many people might have a positive experience in a specific market, some other people might have a negative experience, but these really it can depend on many different factors. However, there are some objective numbers and data that we can look at that can tell us, yes, this market has more opportunities, this market has less opportunities. And so these considerations should never be made black and white. They should be researched. When we made the consideration of moving to Riyadh, for instance, with the digital bunch instead of Dubai, we had made some considerations which are now proven to be in line with what the market is suggesting. And so I say this simply because I want people to say, well, I did a project for that client in that country and it was terrible. There are many considerations that need to be made all the time, but hopefully we're going to touch on all these points together. And if people have questions or want to find out more, we'll be able to give them some answers, or at least some thinking points for them to sort of like redefine the way that they think about different markets. But anyway,
Yeah.
So let's dive into the strategic market entry, so that people can start to get a little bit of value from
Can
this
I ask
conversation.
one question before that?
Yes,
I have
absolutely.
one question for the viewers. You are looking to know how to enter a market strategically. But we need to ask ourselves the question first: should I go to another market? Okay, that's the first question. So, did I really exhaust my real market, my recent market? So, Fabio, if you don't mind, for example, let's take Digital Punch as an example, in case you don't mind. What was the reasons behind going to a new market? I mean, you went to a new market with full power. Yeah, I mean, what was
So
the
we
reasons?
already have an international brand, and we are established, and we worked with a lot of big names. So the work that we produce is quite well known. The reason why we went to this market, and it's actually the first talk point in the conversation that we're going to have tonight, it's because we started to do more projects in the Middle East than in Europe or in America or Canada or any other country. But this was not always the case for us. At a very early stage, when I was still not there, a lot of work was coming through Asia to the digital punch, and then Europe, and then the United States, Canada, and then suddenly the shift happened with the Middle East. We did not look for work in the Middle East. The work came to us. But this is one of those situations where you look at the possibility and you say, okay, here there is a chance for us to do something. And actually, this should be, in many cases, the sort of like the reason that pushes you to think of entering a market. Because again, we're not talking about exporting services. Everybody can export services. We're talking about establishing a presence in another market. There is a substantial difference, and we're going to talk about these differences. But for a company to just thinking to go to another market without having a reason to go to another market is a little bit, it can be either a suicidal mission, or it could be like a life-changing thing. And in many cases you need to have a vehicle, something that takes you there, because going there without anything really, it's a little bit like it's a little bit of a blind stab in the dark. I would not recommend it just because you think that there is an opportunity. There are so many considerations to be made, and people should be really mindful. Of course, there are exceptions, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I hope
Okay,
that I answered your question.
perfect. So we can say that the sign you have seen in your new market was the demand. So you saw a demand for your
Yeah,
service that is coming from that place,
yeah,
and this demand has increased. And then you said, I mean, I already have seen the document. So I would say in the beginning you were outsourcing or exporting the service. Now you are making a presence there, right? And if
yeah,
this is going to be a good entry point to having like those two viewpoints? Am I going to export the service or just make a presence? Would you mind please talk about those two topics, differences and pros and cons for each one, or at least define what is exporting service?
Yes. So when you export a services, say you have an office in I don't know, Munich, and you're making renderings for a company in the United States, and you do that, basically there is a trade-off to doing something like this, which is usually a monetary trade-off, meaning probably you're going to end up charging a little bit less for the work that you do, but you stay in your own country, you're comfortable doing stuff from wherever it is that you live. There is an advantage, logistical advantage. You don't have to stay in a place that it's not your home. Perhaps you will have to travel to that place to see the client maybe a couple of times, 3 times a year. But this is the main difference. And it works in the moment that the work makes you money, but also doesn't require you to have to fight with the client or to have payment issues of that kind. There are certain markets that are a little bit more challenging, and that's why they require you to have a presence in that market. We see it, this is not only with Archviz, it's with everything. If you take any company that you can think of, BMW, milk, a chocolate, I don't know, the whatever, Bird's Eye, the frozen food, they have a
Yeah.
presence in all markets. Sometimes the format of that presence is a bit different, but when it comes to services and to having an agency that it's an international agency, usually the format is very similar. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but it is necessary because there are many advantages, especially for your clients, when you live in another country and when you're able to support them in the country where they operate, right? And so there is the advantage for you that you'll be charging more money because you'll be closer to the client, but you also have logistical challenges, more costs for setting up a second activity, setting up the business, more banking costs, more taxing costs, an accountant that can help you in that country. That accountant will have to talk to your accountant back home to wherever it is that you're from. So, there are advantages and disadvantages, but if the volume of business makes sense, it is something that you simply cannot avoid. In many cases, there are companies that have BD people that, maybe your business is registered in another country and you don't really have production or an office, but these people are basically staying very close to the clients abroad in order to make sure that they support their needs locally so that the clients feel closer to the company that they're working with.
Okay, perfect. So here we have three things. We have either exporting the service, it means I am still home, I have my studio, my people, and producing the work and sending it overseas. And I have like making a presence in the next, I mean, the second country or the new market, which has two options. One, either I move there and I build a team there. Maybe as an example for this, we can take Red Vertex as an example. I think they opened a new office in Dubai and they have people there. They are working and they're producing there, not only like a presence. And another example could be, I mean, the third one is making a presence only for sales, and the production is still at home, right?
Yes, and in reality, to a certain extent, as the business grow, and if the market that you enter is actually an important one, you realize that soon you'll need people able to help you also with small things locally. We are already at a stage with the digital bunch where we're looking for people here locally to do stuff, because we're already too busy. And this is something that I think it's unavoidable. Like, you can have BD and you can have people that do travel back and forth, and they come here and they I take, for example, Riyadh as an example. But sooner or later you'll have to have people that stay here, that at least are on call 24/7, because these projects require it. Some other companies, what they do in order to establish a presence, but not being present in the country, they partner up with other companies, so that the companies that are present here, then they create that bridge. But this is something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. This is also an opportunity anyway.
Great. So let's say I had like I see a demand from a specific market to buy service, and now I'm outsourcing or exporting the service. I want to move there. What should I consider? I mean, everyone is talking about market research. I mean, let's break market research down into the bullet points or the main key factors, um, and let's talk about what should I have in mind. One, two, three.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit ahead, but I'll answer that question. So the reality, as I told you, the reason for you to move to a market, it's because there are signs that are pushing you there. Maybe there are projects, partnerships that you already are working with, or maybe the client came to you. You worked successfully on many projects, so you want to go there to be closer to the action and to keep working on those projects.
Mhm.
You still have to do some market research to understand, once you land there, what are the logistic challenges, the tax and legal challenges, but
Mhm.
also, like, you need to understand how you're going to position yourself in that market, because you might go there because you have done a couple of successful projects with a client, but how is your company looking like in comparison to the competition? You need to have a unique selling proposition, because like, it's not enough to go there if you only have one client. You need to go there and look for more clients to make sure that your presence in that market is stable, right? And so these are things that you need to look for. Another thing that can be very beneficial, especially in the beginning, is to look for partnerships. And so local companies or local brokers or people who already have a presence in the market that are willing to work together for you to establish your presence there. Now, things like partnerships can actually help you to establish a presence without you having to be physically there, because they'll be the people that will take care of the business development on your behalf. There are even there some sort of like negotiating factors, but this is also an option. And some of the big famous companies that we know of, that's the type of business relationship that they have there, because that's how they choose to run their business and doing things. It works. It's just a different way of strategizing on this topic.
Yeah, just a side note, I think we need to have a couple of episodes about partnerships, because I think partnerships is like one of the biggest underrated ways of to getting new clients, or at least entering your market. So let's keep it in mind for maybe not next one, but like a future episode. Okay, perfect. So let's say I have a
I
demand.
I say that all the time. Partnerships are very important, but of course you need to understand what it is that you're partnering on.
Exactly. It should be a win-win situation. Um,
Exactly.
So let's say I know there is a demand from this market or a future market. I have studied a little bit my competitors. I know how to position myself. I went there. What is the next step for me to penetrate this market properly?
Okay, first of all, you need to do a thorough audit of all the operational and logistical considerations, as well as the cultural and business adaptation. You need to make all considerations like if you are entering a market and your idea is to keep the production in your own country, uh, what is the time difference going to mean in terms of production? I'll give you an example. Say that your production is in Brazil or in Argentina and you want to move to the Middle East. This is like, I think, 6-7 hours of time difference. This is a full day of work that you offset your activities to the production. Now, if you move east to west, it's usually always a good thing because you're ahead. You can do your work and then you can send work back to be done in the country, whatever it is that you have the production. On the other way around is a little bit more difficult. So if you are, say, from India and you're working with England, you have the disadvantage. Well, it's mainly the client that has the disadvantage that when they send the comments, then they have to wait until uh, I don't remember now it works, but like the
Yeah.
time goes in the other direction. um, so this is basically the main challenge. Eventually, like this is just a consideration. Usually the people that run these businesses, they know that this is a problem, so they adjust accordingly. There is the taxation and legal framework that is very important for setting up a business abroad, and people should know where it is easier and where it is more difficult. And actually, we're going to talk about it at the end of this video because I have made some considerations for the different markets. Then there is also the talent acquisition sort of like component, but this might not be relevant if in case you're thinking of just moving the business operation in another place and then keeping the production, back home. It's funny, I can tell you a story. Like, I know an old client of mine from India who at a certain point was getting inquiries from India for big projects um, in India. And the client would say, well, if you are this expensive, I'll go and work with people in London. So he went and opened an office in London just to do the business development. He would take the work from India and send it back to India, right? So the communication would go to London and then back to India, this is basically what it was. There is the cultural and business adaptation. There is a whole culture of aesthetics that people need to take in consideration. Like, for instance, I can tell you, when working in the Middle East, they're very specific about the type of rocks that you use, the vegetation, the color of the sky, the haze in the air. Same thing with Canada. Canada has a very specific look to the images that people make, and developers, they will fight you on that. Brazil, it's another market that has a very specific visual culture that you need to understand if you want to operate there. And you might be a very good artist in making images in Brazil, but then when you export your work to another country, they might not like it because it's a different type of work, right? Uh, Language and communication, it's an important thing. You will see also later on, we'll talk about it when we talk about Asia. If you want to have relationships with clients, You need to understand where they're coming from in terms of like culture, obviously, because you're basically entering their own turf, their own field. There is this whole idea of trust that you have to basically rebuild when you enter a new market, because you might be seen as, you know, a company that is good and everything, and they're very successful, and you're doing a lot of things in back home, but can we trust you here? Are we sure that you're going to deliver what we need you to deliver? And sometimes these things might seem like irrelevant, but actually they're very, very important. And I'm experiencing this for the first time, firsthand myself, living here in Riyadh. So then there are all the financial aspects that you have to take in consideration. Currency fluctuation, it's one of them. You need to adjust the price of your services according to the country that you're going to. One misconception that people always have working in this field is that if you work from a poor country, you can afford to do work for less in, say, exporting your work, say, America, Canada. You know, so if you're working, say, out of India, you can afford to run the business for a little bit, a lot cheaper, than in the US. The reality is that when you enter a new market, you're going to have so many costs associated to running that part of the operation, that if you keep charging the same amount of money that you would charge back home, you'll be basically offsetting yourself in terms of the amount of money that you can have in order to face problematics if they should arise. I give you an example. If a client doesn't want to pay you, or if you're having a dispute, if you're charging less, you won't have the economical tools to go to that client and to fight him legally, even if something goes wrong. And also there is the perception of value. If you enter another market and you export your services at a lower price, the perception of the value of work that you're going to have on the client side is going to be lower than for those clients if, you know, they were to work with somebody local. And so this is a very important thing to take in account. Anis, I don't know if I'm going too fast, or if I feel free to stop me at any point
I
if
did
I'm
not.
saying
I didn't
something
want
that
to
it's
stop you because I mean the topic is interesting and the points makes a lot of sense. We have two comments. We have from Tom. Hey Tom, yeah, we will let you know personally when it will be published for the paper. We have Irene said, "Hi Fabio, could you define logistic challenges? Legal challenges are clear," with a smile. So, what do you mean by logistic challenges?
First of all, Irini, hi, nice to see you. How are you? It's been a while. Huh? So the logistic challenges are basically, just think of the traveling, okay? If you have an operation in Dubai, say, and your production is in London, traveling between London and Dubai, I think it's 8 hours. It is a logistical challenge because it adds basically 2 working days to anything that you have to do in that region. Logistically, you know, if you have to travel there, you have to book hotels, you have to move around, you know, with a taxi, or maybe you have a driver. So these are logistical challenges that you would not have if you were to run your operation from your office in London, because the logistical challenge working out of your office would be to commute to go to work instead of traveling back and forth. Also, like, if you need something, you know, whilst you're traveling, you forget your camera, or you forget the charger of your laptop. These are things that, you know, like, we never take in considerations, but they add to the pain of traveling for work. And have done it myself, and I guarantee you it's not fun. I don't like when people say, oh, I travel so much for work. The only person that I really truly believe enjoys traveling for work is Chris from Binion, but everybody else is miserable that they have to go and travel to go and see clients and do BD, because it is a difficult thing. And that's the reason why we're here now, because going back and forth between Riyadh and Poland, it was just too much. The traveling happens in the night, and so basically you're traveling in the plane. I cannot sleep when I'm in the plane, so when I land I need to sleep, and when I wake up it's the evening, so I lose basically 2 days. And then when I have to go back, every time that I land to Riyadh I get sick, and so I'm sick for a week. So these are the logistic challenges. These
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
very simple logistic
Yeah, yeah.
challenges. When you have a company, and like for instance, I was talking to um, to Dimitar of Red Vertex, and he was telling me in the old days when they set up the office in Dubai, they had to bring the computers in their suitcases because there was no chance to get the computer shipped to Dubai. It was something like this, a story crazy like this. And he told me this story where finally these 5 computers came by airplane, and they were so happy and celebrating because they were putting them together. Um, I give you another stupid example, but now we're really diverging too much. Every time that I have to go and do shopping here, because we still don't have a car, because it takes a little bit of time to, get the papers for the driving license and everything. Um, I need to call an Uber, and even though the shop it's only like 2 or 3 kilometers away, we don't have sidewalks in Riyadh, and so you have to wait for an Uber. The Uber takes like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to come here. 10 minutes because there is traffic to do 2 kilometers. It adds 2 hours to my day. And so sometimes when I do the shopping and I'm done, I'm like, I've already lost like half of my day, and I still have to do a lot of other things. And
So this
so
means any European guy who is like used to walking and cycling has no place in Riyadh. That's a sad
no,
truth.
it's
Okay, let's
I
talk
wouldn't say
positively
it's so
about one.
extreme, but
Yeah, by the way, I really
also
moved to Naples.
Irini moved to Naples. Yeah, okay. So you see, I live and you go there.
Great, great. Yeah, so let's say I see all these like I would say challenges, and I'm still really considering going there. What should be my first move?
No, and you should. I do not want anybody to think that these challenges are meant to scare you or anything. Nothing good comes easy. So you just need to know that these challenges exist. This is not a suggestion that you should not do it. Actually, I think that it's a great thing that if you have the possibility and you're um, really thinking of moving because you have a reason to think that this is a good thing, then you should do it by all means. It's something that you should not dwell upon, and you should not wait. You should just do it, really. Um,
Okay, I have a question
okay.
for the digital punch.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
how long did it take you to decide I'm going like from the first sign to the movement? Okay, how long did it take you? Was it like a couple of months? Was it like 1 year, 2 years to
Um,
say now I'm happy to put the financial power and like logistical power and all my energy and I will go there?
so the consideration I think we made for a year.
Okay.
But in the very beginning, it was just an inception. So we were like, okay, there is so much happening, with this region. And in the very beginning, the thought was to go to Dubai because this is the easy choice. But to a certain extent, there were also considerations there that we made. And Dubai is a great choice, uh, especially for the quality of living, but also for the type of projects. There are certain things that people should watch out for in Dubai specifically. But we were like, okay, if we have to make the move and we really are planning long term to do this thing, then Riyadh probably makes more sense because of the Vision 2030, which is this
Yeah.
project that it's going on from the king, from the prince himself, where basically their idea is that until 2030 they're gonna transform Riyadh and other cities in Saudi Arabia into modern technological cities. They're trying to double the amount of people living here. So, for architects and real estate specialists, this is a dream coming true. And they're not holding back. They're really putting a lot of work. Riyadh, it's an open building site. So when we came here for the event Cityscapes, to us it was clear, okay, if we have to make the move, we can either go to Dubai, okay, we have a few projects there, but there is all these new cool things coming out of Saudi, then maybe it will make more sense for us to go there. And when
Yeah.
we came to Riyadh, after being in Dubai, we were like, okay, if we move here, we're fucking crazy. Like, if we really do this, we're crazy. And Dagmar and I were talking about it, and we're like, okay, I guess we gotta do it, and we did it. It took 2 months to make that decision. We
Mm.
we wrapped things up very quickly, and we moved.
Yeah, perfect. You know, just a quick story about Saudi Arabia. Um, when I was in Syria, 2009, I had my office. And when I had my office, I had like one guy, he was bringing a lot of work to my office. Like each time he comes in, I say, Anis, there is a new client, we'll call you tomorrow. Okay. And he was getting really good percentage as a commission. And this guy is like not only bringing clients, he's a friend. And there was another guy who was specialized in interiors, like designing interiors. And he was sending me work, architectural work, or maybe sometimes like if you have something that requires you to go to the site, or only like renderings from the outside. So exteriors, he wasn't exactly into exteriors. And those two guys, we were very close. We had the offices together, like not together, but like nearby. And the war has happened, and it's like one guy is in Sweden, one guy is in the Netherlands. And gradually, the one from the Netherlands went to Saudi Arabia. And then another guy, we knew he was in Dubai and also moved to Saudi Arabia. And the third guy, that was the interior guy, he was in Sweden and he moved to Saudi Arabia. And now, like every day, we have a group. Hey, Anis, it's only you still in Europe. We should come. And I'm telling them, guys, just start the company and I'm coming. But like, yeah, we had some discussions about moving business of Archviz to Saudi Arabia, um, in terms of taxes or legal things, or sometimes the language or all of that. And this brings us like to one topic you want I mean, we would love to know more about. You said Dubai was better or maybe easier, and then you said, okay, Riyadh is better. Um, Now there is like some pros and cons to each market. If you can start with Middle East as a market, okay, can you generalize, or should we take it like one by one? And if you would like, maybe just give an overview.
No,
Let's
no, I
take it
can start
only.
with the Middle East.
Yeah,
I can start. I can start with the Middle East.
yeah,
So the Middle East, the biggest advantages of the Middle East is that they have probably the biggest real estate developments right now going on.
mhm,
Maybe they're like another region that people don't talk enough right now. It's Asia, and we're gonna touch upon this a little bit later. But but these in the Middle East, they're doing a lot of they're making a lot of noise about these new developments. And if you think of like NEOM, Dubai, Doha, Riyadh, Vision 2030, these are projects like in Riyadh alone, they're building Sports City or Sports Boulevard, which is a one city of 135 kilometers. So you can understand the scale. We're talking about one city, one little city, which is 135 kilometers long. So, the line, which right now I don't really know what the status is anymore, it keeps changing. But, initially this was 170 kilometers single project, right? So all of these projects are being built in the Middle East everywhere. Dubai is a place where things move a lot faster, but to be honest with you, like this was quite a personal decision that we made about Dubai, because when we were there, in that 10 days that we were there, I think we went out partying 15 times. And I'm talking to Dagmara, who's the CEO of the company, and I'm like, look, if we have to go somewhere to build a business, probably it's not a good idea to have all these distractions, right? Because like every day there is something, and I'm tired, and I'm not that young anymore. So like let's keep focus on the stuff that we have to do. And I have to say that she was very much in agreement with that sentiment, and that's probably the reason why we made the decision to say, okay, between the two we'll go there. I'll tell you, it's not easy, because there is a lot that we miss, and that it's different from what we have back home. But obviously, this is one of those things that you have to overcome in order to do something important, right? Projects here, they do have the highest budgets in comparison to the rest of the world. Maybe America and again Asia have very similar budgets, but the projects with the biggest budget are coming from here. They capitalize on cutting edge technology. So every time that there is something new, something good, they want it. And I've spoken recently to the guys from Visual House. And they told me that they're making a killing with Novaverse, which is this new platform. And that's because this is a country that it's thirsty. It's a region that it's thirsty for cutting edge technology, which is something that maybe you don't find as much, say, in Europe or in Latin America, South America. So this is a lot of things to take in account. Now, the the disadvantages of doing business in the Middle East is that you need to be here a lot. Like, I was talking about it with Chris from Binion, and he told me that he spends like basically 4 days out of the week, basically in the Middle East doing business. So he travels to Dubai, he stays there for 10 days at a time. Then he flies over to Riyadh, because they obviously have projects here as well. People in this region, they like face-to-face meetings, and it's very important for them to have personal relationships with people. This brings me to the next point. The decision process is very long. And so you will have 5 meetings with the client before they agree to do anything with you. And so you'll have to meet the first time. Hey, how are you? Do you like it here? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Second meeting will be like, yeah, let me show you around. I'll take you here. I'll take you there. Third meeting is, let's go for coffee. Fourth meeting, yeah, we have a project. Fifth meeting. And so it's like, to land a project, it will take like a month, right? A month and a half. It's totally normal. Payment terms can be very unpredictable. You need to have very good contracts because otherwise payments can be delayed. I've heard stories of people waiting 2 years for their payment, and this is something that can affect your ability to run your business, obviously. There is a very strong cultural adaptation, and you need to understand their culture in order to be successful in negotiation, because rightfully it's a society that it's very protective of their own identity, religion, and culture. And if you at least don't acknowledge it, you'll always seen as an outsider that is coming here for the opportunity, which, in many cases, this might be the reason that you're doing this. But unless you embrace the cultural differences, you're going to struggle. Uh, it's expensive to run a business development operation from the Middle East. I think so far we have spent more than 100,000 euros to establish the business here in Riyadh, and we haven't even gotten a car yet. So we will have to spend even more money. But luckily enough, we did some successful partnerships locally. Um, I know people that to set up the business here, they spent 500,000, and this is relatively normal in terms of like launching and establishing a new business. Obviously, if you're on your own, if you're a freelancer or you're just starting out, and maybe you're thinking of like moving completely to another country and set up your business in that country, that this might be very different. But the Middle East is expensive. Um, Dubai, the process of registering and opening a business is relatively fast. So it's an exception to the Gulf region, and it's relatively cheap. But there are many logistical costs associated to it. So it can also get expensive in Dubai. Don't think that, like Dubai, I've heard it's only like $2,000 and then you're set. No. I've heard stories of people who have spent like a couple of 100,000 to set up a proper business, and it's just the cost of doing the stuff that you do. I
Fabio,
hope that
if
I have answered all your
yeah,
questions.
yeah, that's perfect. I mean, for the Middle East, just to have this idea, um, there is something we missed. I mean, forgot to talk about in the beginning, which is why we are talking about this now. So the thing is, so we Fabio and I launched a workshop in February, and the workshop was like 3 days. And the days of the workshop are going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. And we decided let's have 10 people. Now we have 12 people. It's going to be a little bit exhausting, but like perfect. I mean, that's perfect. And one major part of the workshop is deciding if you should go out to a different market or stay in your market. And we do have a process for this. We have a scoring process for this based on the assets that you have. And we said we do need like I would say a theoretical part, like an introduction part. That's why we are making this and recording this to give it to anyone now or later who will join the workshop. But the workshop is personalized. It's not like theory or do this, do that, and figure it out yourself. We are going to have 3 days. I mean, 3 days. So we will have a target market. We will see what type of clients you need to look after, how to reach out to them, what type of acquisition channels you need to, I would say, activate, and basically the complete sales
Anis,
pipeline
I'm
process.
losing you. The audio on your end, it's very distorted. I don't know if it's the same for those who are watching from home.
I don't know on my end. I mean, that was exactly the same from your end as well. Maybe the audience
Ah,
could tell us uh, if we are, if they understand us or not.
I hope they do, because it's an hour.
Um, so let's see. Please comment below. Just tell us if you hear me or hear Fabio completely. Um, so just in between comments, we have. So Irene told you that she's thinking to start her business, and Irene said, "I hear Anis." Okay, I mean Irene is starting her own business and it's covering the Italian market. Um, yeah. So Artem, thank you, Andrew. Sounds good. I mean, yeah, I mean it's maybe it's sort of like just on your end or maybe just like the live stream, but main thing is the audience is listening. Cool. So basically, I'm bringing this because we do have this market definition, and picking the right market is really huge. Sometimes you do have international markets, and you are working with some clients in Netherlands, some clients in maybe in Poland or maybe in the UK, and here and there, and you do have like this desire to be in one place and dominate it, at least be known in one place for one thing or one big thing. This is what Fabio talked about, which is positioning yourself among all the competitors, and that's what we will do in the workshop. The next workshop is going to be in April, end of April. It's going to be, I don't remember the dates, 25, 26, 27. So it's going to be, again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the third one is going to be as well, end of May. However, it's going to be in person here in Karlsruhe, the city where I live. Fabio will join us. If you are looking to join us as well, get in touch with Fabio or me. Yeah, that's basically it. Fabio, we have been talking
Yes,
for
Anis.
almost 1 hour. Okay. I do know that you
I
have
want to
prepared.
do a quick
Yeah.
I want to do a quick rundown of all the markets just to give people, a little bit of the differences of the markets, because otherwise, like people won't have a real takeaway here.
Yeah.
But I'll do it very quickly, okay?
Yeah.
So that at least we can summarize this. And I hope that people can hear me good, because we were having issues hearing each other. So the USA, I think it's still the king of markets, although right now there is a bit of a situation with the real estate, because of the high interest rates and the cost of building materials. But this is a market that fluctuates a lot. The USA have a very strong visual culture, and so it remains one of the markets that requires some of the highest services when it comes to Archviz. A lot of the market is very diverse, but however there is a lot of like um, tech driven developments. There is a lot of like luxury developments, commercial residentials. They usually have higher budgets for visualizations. There is a strong demand for real estate technology and interactive solutions. So if you are into that kind of stuff, this is the right place to be. There are opportunities to work with big developers, architects, and branding agencies. And of course, if you establish your market there is also a lot of opportunities for networking and for growing and scaling up your business, because you'll find talent, you'll find industry events, you'll find a lot of things that can help you growing your business there. At the same time, the disadvantages of the US is that it's a very competitive market with a lot of established firms. And so you do need to have a strong, unique selling proposition. And this doesn't mean that you have to be cheaper. It just means that you have to do something different and better. Um, Clients may demand fast turnaround times and high quality, so that puts a strain on the production. There are legal and tax complexities when setting up a business, especially if you're not a resident and you live in another country. It becomes a little bit difficult to manage the two, but this should not be a deterrent. Um, there is so to do business in the US and to work on the projects that where clients want to spend money and want to do the right type of work, companies will prefer working with local firms, and so you do need to have a presence in the US. And if you see the biggest companies, or sort of like the most famous companies that we know of, they do have a presence in the US because it's inevitable. Canada is a very closed market to the US. There is a strong architectural scene with international firms and demand for high-end services. It's generally less competitive than the US markets, but of course the rates are adjusted to the market. You'll end up charging less in Canada, but it's still good work. Uh, However, right now the real estate market is stuck. This is due to construction fees. The cities charge fees for construction to developers, and these fees are crazy high. And the political system right now in Canada is, well, the working class is demanding for these policies and politics to change. Um, because the policies don't support growth at the current market rates and wages. And so it's difficult for people to have a job and being able to afford a house. The market is smaller in comparison to the US, and the cost of doing business can be very high. The taxation is high, salaries are high, and there are a lot of regulations in Canada. The next market will be Latin and South America, with the exception of Brazil. We'll talk about Brazil in a second. This is a region that it's emerging. You'll find certain parts of certain countries like Mexico, Panama, Chile, that are actually now booming from a real estate point of view. There are entire cities that are being redrawn and redesigned and rebuilt. And so, this allows for new projects to be realized. There is one of the advantages is that working locally will give you lower production costs. There is less competition because everybody is actually flocking to America, to the Middle East, to Asia, to Europe. If you are a Spanish-speaking person, you'll more or less align yourself with the culture of the place. So this is, to me, an advantage. The disadvantages are, of course, that the budgets are still constraints and not as big as in the rest of the world. Some projects, from time to time, they go bust because of the economic instability of certain countries. You need to have very good contracts in place and payment terms, because payment reliability is an issue in these countries. And you need to educate clients because there is less familiarity with high-end Archviz solutions. However, say that, I think that this is one of the most interesting regions to keep an eye on, because I have a lot of contacts that work in that region, and they're telling me actually there are a lot of interesting projects coming out, and there is sort of like a willingness of growing and do better. Then there is Brazil, and I told you Brazil is an animal part, as we say in Italy, because the country is massive. This is the biggest country in America after the US. I believe that Brazil has 230 million people. There is a large growing real estate market with huge demand for visualizations. There is a strong architectural scene. I don't know if you've ever been to Brazil. I have. It's fucking amazing. There are cities like Sao Paulo, Rio, Brasilia, Curitiba. I've been there, where everything is design driven. The local industry is looking for cost-efficient, high-quality solutions at large scale, so that presents an opportunity. And there is an ever-growing luxury property sector, which is demanding high-end services. Now, there are disadvantages to this. Bureaucracy in Brazil is hell. Everybody that I talk to in terms of registering a business, especially if you come from abroad, it's very difficult. Pricing is affected for the services is affected by the currency fluctuation. There is a high competition from local Archviz studios, and a lot of them, they play basically on offering the lowest quality at the lowest price services. What this does is that educate the market to think that, price is more important than quality. Not much that you can do about this. The language is a barrier. Like, you need to speak Portuguese. People do not speak English as much. And the market is very protective. Like, companies that try to penetrate Brazil, oftentimes they go back because Brazilians say, well, we have all the talent that we need in-house or inland rather. Why do we need you? So you need a very strong, unique selling proposition, and you need to embrace the culture. So, you need to learn the language, you need to be there, you need to be a local. If you come from abroad trying to expand in Brazil, the inflation and the limits in profits that you will have in Brazil, it's not going to make sense for you to have Brazil as a way to expand the business. It makes a lot more sense for Brazilian people to have production in Brazil and then expand in other places. But this is a consideration for everybody to make. Brazil is one of the places where you can find the best artists at fair prices in case you're trying to scale your business. Then there is the Middle East. We talked about it. Europe, well, Europe, it's probably the most mature architecture and real estate industry in the world. There is a strong design-driven approach, especially in Northern and Western Europe. Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, they invest heavily in design services, Archviz included. There is an ease of doing business within Europe. Like, you don't have to go to the Netherlands to establish your business if you live in Slovakia. It's relatively easy to travel there, to take care of your clients, to go and see them, and to run your business from there. But at the same time, it's a high competitive market. There are many companies that fight with each other also on price. There is also the opportunity at the same time for companies, from Germany to work with companies from Ukraine, Belarus, and services at a lower price. The business to deal with taxes. You pay way too much for what you get. At least that's my opinion. Most projects
Fabio,
right now
what
have
was the
the
last
lower.
point?
Yes.
What was the last point? I lost your voice. Oh, I lost Fabio completely. Or am I alone now? Fabio, where is Fabio? Yeah, let's wait for 2 seconds, please. So we have a couple of comments. Hey, Scott. Great to see you here. Hey, Fabio.
Hello, I am back.
Yes.
Yes, now I can hear you.
So maybe the last point, what you said, I didn't remember. Like, if you can repeat it, because like you were lagging a lot. I lost the sentence.
Oh, I don't know if people heard it, but the part of the disadvantages of working in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, as I said, in Europe, the biggest disadvantages are the market is highly competitive because there are many established archivist firms that often compete with each other for price. There are a lot of tough regulations when it comes to setting up a business. Um, Most projects have lower budgets in comparison to the US or Middle East. We're talking like half, sometimes a third of the budgets that we find in the US or the Middle East. And there is right now an ongoing recession due to high interest rates and building material cost and scarcity. So we know that the market in Europe is a little bit stuck at the moment. Then there is Asia, which deserves, I think, the most consideration of all regions right now, because there are places like Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, which are growing like crazy. And there is a rising middle class right now in these countries, which means that basically the quality of life is slowly raising, which means that sooner or later there'll be a demand for higher end services, even when it comes to design. And we are seeing quite a few companies doing projects out of Asia, and they're doing it, like they're keeping it in the low, because I do think that this is a very good market. It has a lot less resistance. Like people from Asia, they want to work with international companies, and they're okay. They like to have a dynamic business relationship. So okay, you can go and see them and talk to them and visit them, but you're not really required to do business development on the place. Like, you don't need to be present on the territory. So this is a big advantage, at least for now. uh, there is a strong demand for luxury property, uh, marketing, and of course all the stuff that comes with it. As I said, there is a rapid urbanization, like countries are exploding, and they're fascinated with technology, AI, VR, XR, all this kind of stuff. So they want to have the latest stuff. So this is good to know for us. Now, I mentioned Asia, but I did not mention China, because China, again, is an animal of its own, meaning, you know, um China is a little bit of a wild place. I have talked to people who have run businesses in China, and they told me, like, it can be really wild. You'll work with a partner, the partner will hire you, they will get your knowledge, and then they will fire you and they will kick you out. Years back, I talked to a guy who moved to China, and he told me that this happened also to him. And this is funny. And basically, the wife, who is Chinese, went to yell the boss and saying, "Hey, you're doing this to my husband." And the boss hired him back, because he was like, "Okay, you're right. Yes, we're doing this, but because you're Chinese and you're married, we'll keep your husband." And so like, there is this cultural divide that makes it very difficult to deal with China. But again, if you find a partner, if you have a reason to believe that this is a market where you can do stuff and that you can build things, then by all means you should consider it, right? However, talking about disadvantages, you need to remember that the language and the culture barriers are extremely high. Um, Penetrating that market is very difficult, unless you have a strong presence on on the ground right now, and of course, like, physical presence, that so you go and talk to people directly. Um, payment and contractual issues in certain regions are, very similar to what you could find, say, in the Middle East or South America, Latin America. Then, of course, there is India, which is another separate topic. India is a market that is growing extremely fast. There is, in Asia, I think it's the market with the fastest growing middle class, which basically means that there is a huge growth for real estate. Um, Running a business from India can be very beneficial because of the lower cost of outsourcing work. People are very skilled. There is a strong architectural and engineering industry there. It's a tech-driven industry. They're embracing, AI, VR, all that kind of stuff, automation as well. But at the same time, many clients prioritize cost over quality. And this is a fight that you need to be able to, that you need to be willing to take. Um, Payment reliability can be, of course, an issue. There is high competition from low-cost local Archviz companies. And in Asia, India is considered one of the slowest bureaucratic countries. So setting up a business can be a bit of a pain. Now, the last region that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to give you some takeaways, is Australia and New Zealand. Now, Australia and New Zealand is a little bit sort of like the thermometer of the world when it comes to real estate. Like when Australia's markets goes up, then all the other markets seem to go up at the same time. And when Australia's market goes down, then every market seems to follow. It's a very funny thing that I've been able to observe over the past 20 years. I don't know why that is, but it is like that. They have a thriving luxury and commercial real estate sector, which right now is in recovery, meaning, they're coming out from a 2-3 years sort of like recession. So, this is a positive thing. They have a high adoption of tech-based marketing solutions. There is, generally speaking, less competition compared to Europe or North America, although the local market, according to many, seem to be already quite saturated. I don't know. We do have projects there. The volume is not as much as, say, the Middle East, but we got work coming from there. It's an English-speaking market, so this makes it relatively easy for international firms to work. They know that they have logistic challenges, so this push firms to work with outsourcing services. So there is that makes it easier for companies in Australia to reach out to international offices because they know that the local supply is limited. It is a smaller market compared to the US or to the Middle East. There is a high cost of doing business if you decide to create a company there and establishing a studio there. This includes, salaries and taxes. It's very high what you have to pay. Clients do expect premium quality and, of course, fast turnarounds. And this requires, high-end production capabilities, but at a reduced currency because, the Australian dollar, I think it's half of what the euro is. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway. And of course, at the same time, because of the time difference, international collaborations can be a little hard. At this point, I have some final takeaways for people
Fabio,
that are watching this. We've been
before
going
we talk
for
about
20 minutes. Yes, sir.
yeah, so before we talk about the takeaways, we have a couple of comments. So Tom asked a question. I mean, we will answer the question just now. So he said the talk is also about markets and opportunities aside the classical Archviz fields. or it's about moving worldwide. So it is about what are the potential markets for your Archviz depending on the type of Archviz you are doing. And we will talk about in just like 1 minute. Like it's the summary. So maybe we could have maybe said the summary in the beginning, but like it wouldn't really make a lot of sense without having a good knowledge about all the markets. And Scott, great hi to Scott. He said great to see you both. Um,
I, Scott.
what else? Yeah, that's basically it. And now, two things. The first one is like what Fabio is talking about is a study. It's an overview over a market, which means if you had a positive or negative experience about one client in that market, does not mean that the full market, the whole market, is like this. Um, it is a general view, okay, on the market. This is one. Two, I think, Fabio, we should make something similar like this, like the document we are preparing now, to publish every year. Once we see a new potential thing, we should publish it. And we should keep it open to everyone, at least like for people to know, to have at least like some sort of a resource they can see, they can wait for, or at least get information from. Like today, we have ChatGPT, we have Perplexity, we have a lot of AI tools, and if you ask each one of them, you will get a lot of answers. Um, with the summary, Fabio is going to say now, it is very, I would say, on point. It depends heavily on the type of Archviz you are doing. So are you doing mass production or high quality, premium quality, or are you doing low quality or like normal quality with maybe low cost? That's what Fabio now is going to talk about. So Fabio, please give us the takeaways depending on what type of Archviz each studio is doing.
Yeah, so basically, another thing that probably we should add to that is that it also comes down to the personal ambition of certain people, okay? Because, like, I get it. Some people say, look, I am very happy to just export my services, and I'm willing to negotiate on the price and the turnaround times and the quality of work that I produce, as long as I get to stay in whatever situation that I am right now. I'm fairly content with that. If instead your idea is to keep expanding and keep growing, there are certain considerations to make. Uh, we cannot really say the one is right and the other one is wrong. It comes down to the personal ambition of people. Now, if we talk about the takeaways, the Middle East, USA, Australia, Asia, this is a high-end industry. They have high budget projects, but there is a resistance to entry. This is a market that needs both high-end work and they're willing to pay the money, but they require for you to have a presence on the ground. Um, if you're thinking to go there with a product that it's maybe a little bit faster and cheaper, you can do that. I guess for those type of services, you don't really need to think of establishing a presence on the ground. You can simply have a good sale pipeline, and you can reach out to a lot of people, and that will yield results. But at the same time, you need to think of the fact that a lot of people are competing at that level. Uh, so there are considerations to make also there. Latin America, India, Southeast Asia, there is the possibility of like scaling up with less competition. Obviously, the cultural component plays a big advantage, and so it's easier if you are from those places. Projects usually have reduced budgets, but they also move a lot faster. Okay. Europe, Canada, and Japan, which is something that we did not dedicate enough time to, very design driven. They require high end work for the most, but budgets are constraints. There is a lot of competition. So, even there are considerations to make. India, Brazil's, and parts of Eastern Europe, they're very cost efficient when it comes to creating production hubs. And so there, a lot of companies will have production houses in these places. And there is usually, generally speaking, higher advantages for local people there. So, the ability to leverage cheaper production costs, or basically that's the thing. There is, to give you an example, there is it's called, I think, the American Axis, right? The reason why companies based in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, the reason why they have a successful presence in the United States and Canada, it's because basically they are on the same axis in terms of like time with the United States and with Canada. And so they are capable of working in real time at the same time with these countries. And so this makes it a lot easier for people, say, living in, I don't know, even Mexico, to travel to the United States to have a business meeting and then to go back and do the production there. For these companies, it's a lot more difficult to travel to places, say, like Dubai or the Middle East, and do business there. Although I know a few that do that, they're very successful. But times that I've talked to them, they tell me it's very difficult in terms of like logistics. The flight is 16 hours, and then you have to stay there away from your family. And but these are things that you do and you sacrifice when you care about the stuff that you do, and you put a lot of effort into building it, and so you do it. But basically, this is it. I think that like this should give you a clear idea of what the markets look like, what it is that they offer you right now, what are the possibilities, what are the things that you can do. And eventually, this is something that Anis and I do. If you do need help and you're thinking to expand and move to other markets, and you want to make the right considerations before taking the leap, or to ask general questions, or maybe even create a custom-made strategy for your own business, is something that we can help you with. And I'm pretty sure that Anis will agree with me that will be very much looking forward to hear from you in case you have any questions, or you're looking for a partner that can help you with this kind of stuff.
Great, great. Yeah, 100%. For Tom, I don't know if we met your expectation or you thought about something different. If that's the case, or if we didn't answer your question, please write the question clearly. I mean, just tell us what you expect to know more about, and we will include it inside this report. This is for Tom. And for others, if you think that we always should, like maybe every 6 months, make a report about the potential markets and publish this report based on our experience with our clients and how we see the market, please comment in the chat just for us to know if there is a demand. We won't do anything for something for someone who does not really need it. Um, I'm not going to say that we are experts and we know all the markets, whatever it is. But like Fabio has a unique experience in multiple markets. I have experience in multiple markets as well, and we both like help others, and we see all the types of like inquiries, quotations, where they are coming from, clients, demand, where is demand, where like for example. I do have a good view on when we will have a spike in this industry and when we will have, like, I would say, how we call it in English. What is a samarloch? the gap, I would say, when we have gaps. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not only in summer, but like it's like it could be in somewhere sometime different times. And by having this view like on the whole industry in different markets, we definitely have the tools to help anyone who would like to expand. The first way of how we can help you is by joining our workshops. Our workshops are limited only for 10 people. I mean, the first time we made it like for 12, but like, yeah, we won't really exceed more than 10. So 10 definitely personalized for 3 days. And we have like another three follow-up meetings in the next 3 weeks. I mean, not this week, but like after we do the workshop, we have three follow-up meetings, and you will be in a group. You will get the recordings, and we have like like a mini preparation course. Um, so it is very, I would say, I mean, anyone who gets in won't get out the same shape.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, I mean, and we are not doing it for the first time. So I have done this previously once in my office, once online with a group of my clients. It has happened 2 times last year. We do have testimonials, like interviews with people, and yeah, I mean, until now I didn't have time, neither Fabio, to put like everything in one place, like as a landing page or something to tell people, but we will do it soon. Um, okay, Fabio, thank you. Sorry for that. Fabio, thank you very much for preparing all of this. We will work on the document after the workshop and we will publish it. In case you have any question in mind about the markets or potential markets, put it in the chat. We will take all the questions and include the answers inside the report. And if you have any type of questions you don't want to share it on the chat, just message Fabio or me. Great. Let's see. Do we have any other comments? Irene, great input, guys. Feel free to repeat your video whenever you have something new to share. Great. Thank you. This shows a demand. Thank you again. Fabio, do you have any last words for any market seekers, new potential market seekers?
No, absolutely. I think that, I've said everything that I wanted to say, and I look forward to the next conversation. This next week, I don't know if we will be able to make a video because of the workshop that it's going on, but we will make sure to share some insights, things that we learn and things that we see during this 3 days activity. And make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. There is a link in. Do we have a link in the video for the sign
Yes,
up to the next
I will
workshop?
paste the link. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that people can be part of the mailing list and they can get more information when the new workshops launch.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm posting the link here. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. See you next week, hopefully. Goodbye.